we haven't got enough information between behind the people, behind the society, the personalities, and that's what this is all about, is to try to bring them alive and describe them a little bit. And something like this you cannot do in a booklet, and it hasn't been done in a booklet up till now. So
I'd like to say one other thing. This I find, I was on the Board of Trustees for 3 years. And during that 3 years, 3 different people were president. And one was Bob Lightburn. Bob Lightburn was an excellent president. He listened to everybody, and then he said, well, moving along, and we moved along a little and took up something else, but everybody had a chance to say. And then the next one was your wife,
Doris Lane.
And she took much more care, and I think worried more about it. And but we moved along then, and we got things done, and we got them done well. And she kept us from making mistakes, you know, that were against the rules and regulations. And then the next one was Liz Mitchell. Liz Mitchell always seemed to me, came to the meetings exhausted by her day. So that though she was very good, she knew what should be done, but she was always hurrying us. We felt that Liz was so tired, she really wanted to get home and get things finished. Well, let's finish this up and go ahead. But she was very good about that. So in a way, they were just the kind of group we were in. The same sort of personalities and everybody wanting to help and doing their best. And sometimes a little catty about things, and sometimes I think we're over anxious to get everybody straightened out, and so they seem that they know what they're about. And yet when I see the variety of personalities and the variety of backgrounds and the variety of things that people are looking for, it's a wonder to me that anything gets done at all. So I'm very satisfied. I'm very satisfied. This church is my home, really, because for so many years. I know I've been in and out. I know I've liked some people more than others under ministers. Can't have everything you want, can you?
Well,
do the best.
You mentioned that Paul Sawyer did a lot. He was very active as opposed to the previous interim. Was there some other things that you can say that he did in the community, or how he was active?
I don't know. I think an interim minister has all sorts of possibilities, and the one interim that I wouldn't talk about, he just came to the office and read the New York Times in the morning and then wandered away and did what had to be done in the afternoon maybe, and had a sermon or two. But I think Paul was educating us. And though he may have taken advantage of it being an interim so that he could do whatever he wanted to do, and he could preach as long sermons as he liked, he was a man with a lot of knowledge and a lot of ideas. And he just didn't stick to the rules.
Well, I understand he's a Chinese scholar, and he had established a few fellowships or churches in Russia.
That's right.
And so he had a different type of background than many
Yeah.
of our previous ministers.
I know. But by that time, you see, he talked too much.
Well,
We're so impatient, you know. Well, let him. The attitude is, well, okay, if he wants to have a couple of churches in Russia, well, let him have churches in Russia. But let's have shorter sermons in Plainfield. We're so, honestly, I enjoyed Paul. I didn't have to deal with him. I'm sure he was very difficult at times because he never could be stopped and he never could be counted on to do what he said. And I must say that one time when we have him for lunch, he just barely made the train back to Cranford, and it had me quite nervous. when he had to go and pick up his son, you know. He had to do that. So I'm sorry. You want to talk about people, and maybe the church is made up of people, and so maybe that's the interest. But I think you should get somebody else too.
well, that's a good idea, perhaps.
Yeah,
we will.
I think so. Get somebody who's maybe younger, or get somebody like, I don't know, Shirley Wren has all sorts of ideas, and she used to live in Plainfield. And Plainfield is a city that's so completely changed since I've been here that it's
Can you describe
amazing.
Plainfield when you were a child, what it was like?
Plainfield was, you can't imagine what it was like. It was white people. It was white people. Of course, there was a little group of Jewish people in the corner, and there were black people, and they looked after you, and they worked in the whatever menial jobs there were. Think how it's changed. And there were Italian people, and they looked after your lawns and things like that. And think what has happened since.
Can you describe some of the
Think that
stories?
from that point, first the Italians took over City Hall and ran the town, and then the black people took over City Hall, and now they're running the town. And now we not only have that combination, we also have many Hispanics who in turn may take over the City Hall. And we also have surrounding us are East Indians in the towns around here, plus some Orientals in stores. And it's just an amalgam that's going to be the way every city is, more or less. And we're just in front of the vanguard. It's the vanguard is in the front of the back. Well, we're there now.
Can you
Yeah.
describe some of the stores and where you would go shopping with your
Yeah, there were
mother?
there were very good stores. You went shopping in a marvelous big store where you could get anything you want, called Peppers. And you went to the meat store, and you went to the fish store, and you went to the grocery store.
Was there an ice cream parlor over the brook that you went to?
No, there was an ice cream parlor on Park Avenue
Oh, okay.
called Miller's.
Mhm.
Various places.
Yes.
It's so different. White people were on top then. And they were running things. They were nice to other people, but we thought we were the ones. So, I think Plainfield, I don't know what's going to happen to Plainfield, to tell the truth. They have a wonderful thing going now called, what do they call it? They're going to have a big showcase on the 27th of February they're going to have all the people in Plainfield who do anything in the cultural light, who play the piano, who dance, who paint, who do anything, are all going to be together, and they're going to show what they do. And we're all going to go and look and see what there is in Plainfield from various cultures.
Where will this be held?
You know, now that's the trouble, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Vicky's going to go, and she's going to take us.
Now, Vicky is your daughter.
Vicky's our daughter, and Vicky is, we have 3 children, and they're all over 50 now, if you can imagine that.
Could you give us their names and what they're doing?
Vicky, Anne is our oldest, and she's lives in England, and works and writes and does whatever she feels like doing at the time. And we talk, she comes over here and visits. I talk to her every 2 weeks. And Vicky is our next, and Vicky does everything in connection with music. She teaches, she plays the piano, she performs, and she runs a music store. And Peter is our Peter's our youngest. And he has 2 children, and he teaches, and he lives in Nutley. And we have 2 grandchildren. So, that's nice. I wish you could sit down there and do it now. Barone. Probably the thing, as far as the music goes, the best music was when Mr. Robinson was minister, because he had a very good first Mr. Happ, who finally left, but the woman who came after that was very good, and she played a lot of lovely Bach to us, and and then Mort came along, and Mort really didn't care. But we have music, but he wasn't very particular. And so her name was, the one with Mr. Robinson was named Miss Ricard. And she was a musician, and she left.
Was she a professional? Was she paid?
She was, oh yes, yes. I think they were all paid. I think they were always paid.
When I came to the church, Herb Parks was the organist, and I liked him very much.
Herb Parks, yes, Herb Parks was wonderful. Herb Parks was wonderful with the choir. Oh, before Herb Parks, what was his?
I don't know, that he was there when I came.
This is a very important man who was and Vicky just got a letter from him. He was a very good organist, but he was terribly particular, and he got upset by the choir, and so there was a lot of difficulties sometimes, and he finally left. And different other people came, and Herb Parks was one of them, and he left because he was moving. And then we had a woman who was not very good, and nobody cared. And then, of course, we had Jeffrey. And Jeffrey's a wonderful, a good musician, and he's a wonderful way of picking, the music that he picks out, I think. Appropriate and interesting.
When did we get the new organ? You recall?
No.
I remember when we got the pipes to the organ, the new pipes were put in during Herb Parks' tenure with our society. And when I first came to the church, we had a like a cheesecloth screen over the pipes.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody thought it was unattractive, it was drab, it was discolored. And so under Herb Parks' direction, I don't remember what it was, when Carl Westman was around, or maybe before that. It probably was during his period, that they put in new pipes to the organ. and took down the cheesecloth. And I was told that the professionals tuned it so that the sound would be about the same volume at the front and the back of the church and would carry uniformly throughout. And also there is a white, well, it's a light brown pedestal that the pipes stand on. And I was told that they did it that color so they would make the pipes look like they were suspended in air almost, that they were not on the ground. And that having the contrast of the dark wood for the choir with a lighter colored wood, which the pipes stand on, is supposed to make them more or less look like they were standing in the air.
Yeah. Do you get that impression?
No, I don't get that impression, but that's what I was told. Also, we left out the mural in front of the sanctuary. Do you have anything to say about that?
Isn't it up there still?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I guess you don't have
Yeah.
anything to say about it.
I lift mine eyes up to the hills. I lift mine eyes up to the hills.
I lift mine eyes up to the
You know what the rest of it is?
No.
From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. So that started that, didn't it? I don't know.
Jonas Lee is the painter of the
Jonas Lee.
Of the mural?
of
Yeah.
the mural.
I talked to you about Jonas Lee. Jonas Lee came from Norway with a Norwegian wife and a child, and they lived in Plainfield for a while, and they were friends of the people some of the people in the church. And Jonas was a very sociable, attractive man, and he got around and he sold his paintings, and he did quite well. And in the end, and his daughter married and had a child, and she came back one time to see the church and to see the mural. But I think that whole family has died. It's sad, isn't it? Jonas Lee was fun. Jonas Lee was the kind of man who went to, Mr. Robinson's daughter was married, and I was part of the wedding party, and after the wedding was over and the reception was over, Jonas Lee said, why don't we all go into New York? There's a party in New York, and so we all piled into a car and went into New York to a party in New York. And that was the way he was. He just liked to have something going on. And he was, and his connection with the church is kind of dim, but we have his mural.
What about the Robinson window?
How was that established, or how did that come about?
Oh, I think that, I don't know. I think it had something to do with an art committee. I think Reva had something to do with it, Reva Barrett. I don't know exactly who, but I think there was a lot of pressure to have some memorial to Mr. Robinson. And I think they had a, I don't know who the person was who designed it, but it was largely, it's very Unitarian, you know. It has all those symbols in it and all that. Say it. You're going to say it.
Was the window there with plain glass before? So the window frame was there.
The window frame was there.
So the painted glass was added later.
Yeah. And we really should turn around and look at it occasionally. Now sing a hymn or something.
We have reversed the seats in the sanctuary a few times and looked at the window.
I know it. That's another thing. every now and then, there's a great upheaval, and we think it's too conventional the way we're sitting. You remember, and then we had to turn all the seats around in circles and face them this way and that, and it was a lot of trouble.
Yes, yes.
It was a lot of trouble.
We've moved the pews so many times, they're suffering. There's a few cracks here and there.
I should think so. And
Yeah.
I think other people would be suffering just from heaving them about.
Yeah.